"You will never succeed in life," my father said, looking at me with disappointment. Little did he know that in just 3 months, I would be holding a check for $50,000 that would make him eat his words. My name is Isla, and this is how I went. From being the family disappointment to their biggest surprise. I always felt like the black sheep in my family. My older brother James was a successful engineer working for a big tech company, making 6 figures and buying his first house at 25. My sister Sophie was a respected high school teacher who won awards for her teaching methods. My younger brother Alex was studying medicine and already getting offers from top hospitals. Everyone had their path clear, their future bright, except me. I dropped out of university after my first year because I just couldn't focus on business studies. The lectures felt meaningless, the assignments boring, and I found myself sketching in the margins of my textbooks instead of taking notes. All I wanted to do was create art, but my family saw it as nothing more than a childish hobby that I should have grown out of years ago. Isla, art won't put food on the table. My mom would tell me every morning as I sat at the kitchen table with my sketchbook. When will you stop this nonsense and get a real job like your siblings? You're 22 years old. It's time to grow up. I would just nod and close my sketchbook, feeling the familiar weight of disappointment settling on my shoulders. My room was filled with paintings, drawings, and art supplies that I had bought with the little money I had saved, but to my family, it was all just clutter. Every family dinner felt like a trial where I was the main defendant. My parents would proudly talk about my siblings' achievements while I sat quietly, pushing food around on my plate, knowing what was coming next. "James got another promotion this week," my dad would announce with a huge smile. And Sophie's students scored the highest in the district on their exams. Alex is already getting recruitment calls from hospitals. Then all eyes would turn to me, and the atmosphere would shift. The proud smiles would fade, replaced by looks of concern and frustration. "And what about you, Isla?" my uncle would ask, with a smirk during family gatherings. "Still playing with crayons? When are you going to join the real world?" The whole table would chuckle awkwardly, and I would just smile and nod, feeling smaller and smaller each time. My cousins would exchange glances, probably thinking about how they were all moving forward in life, while I was stuck in the same place. My father was the hardest on me. He was a businessman who valued success, money, and status above everything else. To him, I was a constant source of embarrassment. "I'm embarrassed to tell people what my daughter does," he once said during a particularly heated argument. "Your siblings make me proud. When people ask about them, I can't stop talking. But you're just wasting your life. Do you know how that makes me feel?" Those words cut deeper than any knife. I ran to my room that night and cried until my eyes were swollen. But somewhere in that pain, those harsh words also lit a fire inside me. They became fuel for something my family couldn't see yet. What my family didn't know was that while they thought I was doing nothing, sleeping until noon, and playing with art supplies, I was actually working on something that would change everything. Every night, after they went to bed, I would stay up until 3 or 4 a.m., working on projects that meant everything to me. I had been taking online courses in digital art, graphic design, and illustration. I spent hours watching tutorials, practicing techniques, and slowly building a portfolio. I used my laptop that was supposed to be for finding a real job to instead create art that came from my soul. The hardest part wasn't the long hours or the technical challenges, it was keeping everything secret. I had to hide my progress, my small victories, my growing confidence, because if my family found out what I was really working on and I failed, I would never hear the end of it. "See? We told you art was a waste of time," I could already hear them saying. So I suffered in silence. When they called me lazy for sleeping in, I didn't tell them I had been working all night. When they said I had no direction in life, I didn't mention the business plan I was developing. When they compared me to my successful siblings, I didn't share the small freelance jobs I was starting to get. I created a separate email account, opened a bank account they didn't know about, and slowly started building something that was entirely mine. The money was small at first, maybe $20 here, $50 there for small logo designs or illustrations, but it was proof that my worthless skills had value. The worst part was pretending not to care when they criticized my art. My mom once found some of my paintings and said, "These are nice, Isla, but hobbies don't pay rent." Mwah. If only she knew that one of those hobby pieces had already sold online for $200. My siblings weren't mean, but they didn't understand me either. James would sometimes say, "Why don't you just get a job at a bank or something? You're smart. Enough." Sophie would suggest I become an art teacher. At least that's a stable job with art involved. Alex was usually too busy with his studies to comment, but when he did, it was always something like, "Art is great as a side thing, but you need something reliable as your main career." None of them understood that art wasn't just something I did on the side. It was who I was. It was the only thing that made sense to me in a world that felt confusing and overwhelming. Every family photo felt like a reminder of my place in the family hierarchy. There they were, my successful siblings with their achievements and clear paths, and there was me, the artist who hadn't figured her life out yet. But I had figured it out. I was just keeping it secret until I could prove them all wrong. The pressure was building every day. Every disappointed look from my parents, every question about my future from relatives, every comparison to my siblings was like another weight added to my shoulders. I knew I couldn't keep this up forever. Soon I would have to either give up my dreams and get the real job they all wanted me to get, or find a way to prove that my path was just as valid as theirs. Little did they know that proof was coming sooner than anyone expected. 3 months had passed since my father's harsh words, and my secret project was about to reach a critical point. Every night, while my family slept peacefully, believing I was just another failure, I was building an empire they couldn't even imagine. It all started when I discovered digital art platforms online. I created accounts under a fake name, Luna Artist, because I couldn't risk my family finding out. My first sale was a simple logo design for $25. I remember staring at that notification for hours, my hands shaking. Someone had actually paid for my art, but that tiny victory was just the tip of the iceberg. Within weeks, my online presence exploded. I was getting commissioned for book covers, website designs, and even illustrations for major magazines. The money was rolling in faster than I could count it. $500 here, $200 there, $2,000 for a complex project. I had secretly opened a bank account 3 towns over, where no one in my family would accidentally see me. The irony was killing me. While my parents worried about me contributing to household expenses, I was quietly paying for our family's grocery bills, the internet bill, and even contributed anonymously to James's wedding fund. They had no idea that their failure daughter was actually helping keep the family financially stable, but the real game changer came when I discovered NFT art. This was during the early boom, when digital artists were making millions overnight. I decided to take a massive risk and created a collection called Hidden Dreams, 25 pieces that told the story of people who were underestimated by their families. The collection was deeply personal. Each piece represented a different emotion I had felt over the past year. The pain of disappointment, the loneliness of keeping secrets, the fire of determination, the hope for vindication. I poured my soul into every pixel. I listed the collection on a Thursday night, praying that maybe, just maybe, someone would connect with it. What happened next changed everything. By Friday morning, every single piece had sold. The total earnings? $180,000. I stared at my phone screen in disbelief. In one night, I had made more money than my father earned in 3 years. More than James made in his entire first year as an engineer. More than Sophie made in 2 years of teaching. But here's where things got complicated. A major art gallery in New York contacted me. They had seen my work and wanted to feature Luna Artist in their upcoming exhibition called Digital Revolutionaries. The catch? They wanted to interview me, photograph me, and make me the face of their campaign. This could make you one of the most recognized digital artists in the country, the gallery director, Victoria Chen, explained over our video call. We're talking about a potential multi-million-dollar career trajectory here. Multi-million-dollar career. The words echoed in my head for days, but going public would mean revealing my identity. It would mean my family finding out everything I had been hiding. And honestly, I wasn't sure I was ready for that conversation. Things at home were getting worse by the day. My mother had started leaving job application printouts on my bed. My father had stopped talking to me altogether except to remind me about house rules and curfews. Even my siblings were getting frustrated. Isla, I love you, but this is getting ridiculous, Sophie said to me one evening. You're 22 years old. You can't live like a teenager forever. Alex is younger than you, and he's already got his life together, James added. What's your plan here? Really? If only they knew that while they were lecturing me about having a plan, I was simultaneously managing 12 different client projects, had a waiting list of customers 3 months long, and was being courted by galleries across the country. The breaking point came during my cousin's wedding. The entire extended family was there, and I became the center of unwanted attention. So, Isla, my Aunt Linda said loudly during the reception, making sure everyone could hear, still living at home with Mom and Dad? When I was your age, I was already married with a house. The table went quiet. I felt every pair of eyes on me, waiting to see how I would respond to yet another public humiliation. She's going through a phase, my mother said quickly, trying to defend me but somehow making it worse. She'll figure it out soon. A phase? My Uncle Rick laughed. How long? Does an art phase last? 5 years? Everyone laughed. Everyone except me. That night, I made a decision that would change everything. I was done hiding, done being ashamed, done letting my family think I was a failure when I was actually more successful than any of them had ever been. I called Victoria. Chen, I'll do the exhibition, I told her. But I have one condition. I want to do something that's never been done before. What did you have in mind? She asked. I want to create a live art piece during the opening night, something that tells the story of hidden potential. And I want to invite my family to the gallery without telling them why. Victoria was intrigued. That's actually brilliant. A live revelation. Very dramatic. I love it. We planned everything meticulously. The exhibition would open on a Saturday night. I would create a piece live on stage while telling my story to the audience. The final reveal would be removing a canvas covering that showed my bank account balance, my client testimonials, and my sales records. But 3 days before the exhibition, disaster struck. I was working late on my laptop when James walked into the living room. I quickly tried to close the screen, but he had already seen it. What was that? He asked suspiciously. Nothing, just browsing, I said lamely. Isla, that looked like design software. Expensive design software. My heart was pounding. I was just looking at tutorials. James sat down next to me. Can I see your laptop for a second? No, I said too quickly, clutching it to my chest. James's expression changed. Isla, what's going on? You're acting really strange. Nothing's going on. I'm fine. You're clearly not fine. You've been secretive for months. You're always on your computer, and just now I could swear I saw some kind of professional design work on your screen. I realized I had a choice. I could confess everything to James right now, or I could lie and hope he would drop it. But James was persistent, and he knew me well enough to know when I was hiding something. If you must know, I said, making a split-second decision to tell a half-truth. I've been taking some online courses, learning design skills. I was hoping to maybe get a job in graphic design someday. James softened. Isla, that's great. Why didn't you just tell us? Mom and Dad would be proud that you're working towards something practical. Because I didn't want to get everyone's hopes up in case it didn't work out, I said, which was partially true. Can I see what you've been working on? He asked gently. This was it, the moment of truth. I could show him some of my basic practice work, or I could show him what I was really capable of. I took a deep breath and opened my portfolio. James's jaw dropped. He scrolled through page after page of professional quality designs, illustrations, and digital art pieces. Isla, he whispered. This is incredible. This is professional level work. How long have you been doing this? About a year, I admitted. A year? And you never told anyone? Before I could answer, we heard footsteps. Mom and Dad were coming downstairs for their usual late-night snack. "Quick," James whispered. "Close it." But it was too late. Mom walked into the living room and saw us huddled around the laptop. "What are you two doing up so late?" she asked. James looked at me, clearly torn between keeping my secret and sharing what he had just discovered. "Mom," he said slowly, "I think you need to see something." My stomach dropped. This wasn't how it was supposed to happen. The gallery exhibition was supposed to be my big reveal, my moment of triumph, not this awkward late-night discovery in our living room. "See what?" Mom asked, moving closer. Dad appeared behind her, looking annoyed at being disturbed. James looked at me one more time, asking permission with his eyes. I realized I had no choice. The secret was out. I turned the laptop screen toward my parents. What happened next would change our family forever. The silence in our living room was deafening. My parents stared at the laptop screen, scrolling through page after page of my professional artwork. I watched their faces change from confusion to disbelief to something I had never seen before. Genuine awe. "Isla," my mother whispered, her voice barely audible. Did you create all of this?" I nodded, my heart hammering so hard I was sure everyone could hear it. My father leaned closer to the screen. "This says Luna Artist. Who is Luna Artist?" "That's me, Dad. That's my professional name." "Professional?" He looked up sharply. "What do you mean, professional?" This was it, the moment I had been dreading and anticipating for months. I took a deep breath and opened my banking app on my phone. I said, turning the screen toward them, that I've been making money from my art for over a year now. My mother's hand flew to her mouth when she saw the balance. $245,000. "That can't be real," my father said, grabbing the phone. "This has to be fake. You can't have this much money." "It's real, Dad. Every penny of it." James was staring at me like he'd never seen me before. "Isla, how much money have you made?" Before I could answer, my phone started buzzing with notifications. Instagram, Facebook, email alerts. Everything was going off at once. "What's happening?" Sophie asked, appearing at the top of the stairs in her pajamas. "Come down here," James called. "You need to see this." As Sophie joined us, I explained everything. The late nights, the secret identity, the clients, the NFT, collection that sold for $180,000 in one night. With each revelation, my family's expressions grew more incredulous. "Wait," my mother said suddenly. "If you've had all this money, why didn't you tell us? We've been worried sick about your future." "Because I knew you wouldn't believe in me," I admitted. "And I was scared that if I told you and then failed, you'd never let me forget it." My father was quiet for a long time, just staring at the numbers on my phone. Finally, he looked up at me with tears in his eyes. "I called you a failure," he said, his voice breaking. "I told people my daughter was wasting her life. And all this time, I've been more successful than any of us ever imagined." James finished, shaking his head in amazement. But the night wasn't over yet. My phone rang, and I saw Victoria Chen's name on the screen. "I have to take this," I said. "It's the gallery director from New York." I stepped into the kitchen, acutely aware that my entire family was listening to every word. "Isla!" Victoria's voice was excited. "I have incredible news. A major collector saw your Hidden Dreams collection online and wants to commission you for a $500,000 piece. But here's the crazy part. There's a documentary crew that wants to film the entire process. They're calling it The Secret Artist, and it's going to be featured on Netflix." I nearly dropped the phone. "A documentary? They want to tell your story, the family who didn't believe in you, the secret success, everything. This could make you one of the most famous artists in the world, Isla. Are you interested?" I looked back at my family, who were still sitting in stunned silence around my laptop. "Can I call you back in the morning?" I asked. "I need to talk to my family first." When I hung up and returned to the living room, everyone was looking at me expectantly. That was about a potential $500,000 commission, I said simply. My mother actually gasped. $500,000 for one piece of art? And a Netflix documentary about my story? The room fell silent again. Then, something unexpected happened. My father started laughing. Not a mean laugh, but a laugh of pure amazement mixed with what I realized was pride. "Do you know what this means?" he said, looking around at all of us. "My daughter, the daughter I called a failure, is about to be more successful than any of us ever dreamed." "Dad," I said softly, "I never wanted to prove you wrong to hurt you. I just wanted to prove that my dreams were worth something." He stood up and walked over to me, pulling me into the tightest hug he'd given me since I was a little girl. "I'm so sorry," he whispered. "I'm so proud of you, and I'm so sorry I almost made you give up." But the surprises weren't finished yet. Sat. Next morning, I woke up to my phone buzzing nonstop. Overnight, someone had shared my story on social media. Your secret artist was trending worldwide. My Instagram followers had jumped from 50,000 to 2.5 million overnight. But that wasn't the shocking part. The shocking part was that among the thousands of messages and comments, there was one that made me freeze. It was from my Uncle Rick, the same uncle who had humiliated me at the wedding just days before. "Isla," the message read, "I owe you a huge apology, but I also have a confession. I'm the CEO of a major advertising company, and we've been looking for a creative director for months. After seeing your work, I'd like to offer you the position. Salary, $300,000 per year, plus bonuses." I never knew my niece was the famous Luna artist we've been trying to hire for our biggest campaigns. I showed the message to my family over breakfast. The same uncle who had mocked me was now trying to hire me for more money than anyone in our family had ever made. "Are you going to take it?" James asked. "Actually," I said, smiling, "I think I have a better plan." I opened my laptop and showed them the email I had sent that morning to Victoria Chen, accepting both the $500,000 commission and the Netflix documentary. But I had also proposed something else. "I want to start my own art agency," I explained. "I want to help other artists who are being told their dreams don't matter. I want to create a platform where people like me can prove that art isn't just a hobby, it's a legitimate, profitable career." My mother was crying now, but these were tears of joy and pride. "And I want all of you to be part of it," I continued. "James, I need someone with your engineering background to help build the digital platform. Sophie, your teaching skills would be perfect for creating educational content for aspiring artists. Alex, once you finish medical school, I'll need someone who understands the business side of healthcare art. It's a massive market. Even my parents were included in my vision. Dad's business experience would be invaluable for operations. And Mom's organizational skills were exactly what a growing company would need. You want us to work for you?" Dad asked, amazement clear in his voice. "I want us to work together," I corrected, "as a family, building something that proves dreams do matter." 6 months later, Isla Creative Agency was featured on the cover of Forbes magazine with the headline, "The 23-year-old who built $1 million art empire while her family thought she was a failure." The Netflix documentary, The Secret Artist, became one of their most watched original series, inspiring thousands of young artists worldwide to pursue their dreams despite family pressure. My Uncle Rick, he never got a response to his job offer. Instead, his company became one of our biggest clients, paying us triple what he had offered me to work for him. At our first company Christmas party, held in the same house where I had once been called a failure, my father stood up to give a toast. "A year ago," he said, his voice filled with emotion, "I told my daughter she would never amount to anything. Tonight, I'm standing in a home that she bought for our family, celebrating a company that employs 50 people and has changed thousands of lives." He turned to look at me. "Isla, you didn't just prove us wrong. You showed us that sometimes the biggest failures become the greatest successes. We just have to be patient enough to let them bloom." As I looked around the room at my family, my employees, and the artists whose careers we had launched, I realized something important. This story wasn't about proving my family wrong. It was about proving that with enough determination, talent, and faith in yourself, you can turn your deepest pain into your greatest triumph. The girl they once called a failure had not only succeeded, she had built an empire that would inspire others to never give up on their dreams, no matter who tells them they're not good enough. Sometimes the greatest success stories begin with the words, "You'll never amount to anything." Because for some of us, those words don't break us, they fuel us. 2 years had passed since that life-changing night when my secret was revealed, and I was now sitting in my corner office on the 30th floor of a Manhattan skyscraper. The view was breathtaking, but what made it even more special was the nameplate on my desk that read, Isla Martinez, CEO, Isla Creative Empire. Yes, we had grown from a simple agency to a full empire. The Netflix documentary, The Secret Artist, had done more than just tell my story. It had sparked a global movement. Young artists from over 80 countries had reached out, sharing their own stories of family doubt and hidden talents. We didn't just inspire them. We gave them a platform. Our company now had offices in New York, Los Angeles, London, and Tokyo. We employed over 500 people, and our annual revenue had reached $50 million. But the numbers weren't what mattered most to me anymore. What mattered was the wall in our main lobby, covered with success stories from artists whose lives we had changed. There was Maria from Mexico, who went from selling paintings on the street to having her work displayed in the Louvre. There was Kevin from South Korea, whose family disowned him for pursuing animation, but who now creates characters for Disney. There was Sarah from Nigeria, whose traditional art now sells for 6 figures at international auctions. Each story reminded me of my own journey, and each success felt like a personal victory. But the most incredible transformation wasn't in my business. It was in my family. My father, who once called me a failure, had become my biggest supporter and our chief operating officer. He brought his business acumen to help us expand globally, and more importantly, he had started a scholarship program for young artists whose families couldn't afford art supplies. "I want to make sure no other parent makes the mistake I made," he told me during one of our board meetings. I almost destroyed my daughter's dreams because I couldn't see past my own fears. My mother had become our director of artist relations, personally mentoring young creators who were struggling with family pressure. She had a gift for understanding their pain because she had witnessed mine for so long. James left his engineering job and became our chief technology officer, building an AI-powered platform that could match artists with perfect opportunities based on their style and interests. He often joked that he made more money working for his failure sister than he ever did in corporate America. Sophie took a sabbatical from teaching to create our educational division. She developed online courses that had been taken by over 100,000 aspiring artists worldwide. Her program, Art as a Career, Not Just a Hobby, became the most popular course on our platform. Even Alex, who had just finished medical school, joined us part-time, consulting on our healthcare art division, a sector that generated $8 million in revenue. Last year alone, by providing therapeutic art services to hospitals and medical facilities, we had truly become a family business in the best possible way. But perhaps the most satisfying moment came during our 3rd annual company retreat. We were all gathered at a luxury resort in Hawaii, celebrating another record-breaking year, when my phone rang. It was my Uncle Rick. "Isla," he said, his voice humble in a way I had never heard before. "I have something to tell you. My advertising company is struggling. We're losing clients to more creative agencies, and our revenue is down 60% from last year." I listened, remembering how he had humiliated me at that family wedding, how he had offered me a job only after discovering my success. "I was wondering," he continued, "if you might consider acquiring my company. I know I don't deserve your help after how I treated you, but my employees, they're good people who don't deserve to lose their jobs because of my mistakes." The irony was almost too perfect. The man who had mocked my crayon drawings was now asking me to save his business. "Uncle Rick," I said, looking out at the ocean where my entire family was enjoying a success that once seemed impossible, "send me your financial reports. Let's see what we can do." We did acquire his company, but not as a takeover. We transformed it into our Isla Creative traditional media division, and Rick became a regional manager rather than a CEO. It was a humbling experience for him, but also a learning one. More importantly, we saved 150 jobs and turned a failing company into a profitable division within 8 months. The most emotional moment of this entire journey came last Christmas. We were all gathered at the house my success had bought for my family, a beautiful home with an art studio that took up the entire 3rd floor. My father stood up during dinner, holding a glass of champagne with tears in his eyes. 2 years ago, he began, his voice shaking, I stood in our old living room and told my daughter she would never amount to anything. I told her that art was a waste of time, that she was an embarrassment to our family. He paused, looking directly at me. Tonight, I want everyone here to know that my daughter didn't just prove me wrong. She saved our entire family, not just financially, but emotionally and spiritually. He turned to address everyone in the room, employees, friends, extended family members who had once doubted me. Isla taught us that success isn't about following someone else's path. It's about having the courage to create your own path, even when everyone tells you it's impossible. The room was silent except for the sound of people crying, but most importantly, he continued, she taught us about forgiveness. She could have cut us out of her success. She could have reminded us daily about how wrong we were. Instead, she brought us into her dream and made us all part of something bigger than ourselves. He raised his glass. To Isla Martinez, who turned her family's greatest disappointment into the world's greatest inspiration. As everyone toasted, I felt a completeness I had never experienced before. This journey had been about so much more than proving my family wrong or becoming successful. It had been about transformation, not just my own, but theirs as well. Later that night, I was alone in my art studio, working on a new piece for an upcoming exhibition, when my mother joined me. I never told you this, she said softly, but during those months when we thought you were doing nothing, I used to find you asleep at your desk some mornings. I would cover you with a blanket and wonder what you were working on so intently. She sat down next to me. Deep down, I think I always knew you were special. I think I was just scared that the world wouldn't see what I saw, and I wanted to protect you from that disappointment. Mom, I said, putting down my brush. The world did try to disappoint me. But you know what? That disappointment made me stronger. It made me more determined. It made me who I am today. She hugged me tightly. I'm so glad you never listened to us when we told you to give up. As I write this final chapter of my story, I'm sitting in my penthouse apartment in New York City, looking out at a skyline that once seemed so far from the girl who was called a failure. Tomorrow, I'm flying to London to open our European headquarters. Next month, I'm giving a keynote speech at the World Economic Forum about the importance of supporting young entrepreneurs, regardless of their chosen field. But tonight, I'm just Isla, the girl who refused to let other people's limitations become her own reality. The Forbes article about me last month had a quote that I think summarizes this entire journey. Isla Martinez didn't just build a business empire, she built a bridge between dreams and reality for thousands of people worldwide. To everyone watching this story, especially those of you who are currently being told that your dreams don't matter, that your passion isn't practical, that you'll never amount to anything, I want you to remember something. The people who tell you these things aren't necessarily bad people. Sometimes they're scared people. Sometimes they're people who gave up on their own dreams and can't imagine that yours might be different. Sometimes they're people who love you so much that they want to protect you from failure, not realizing that they might be protecting you from success instead. Your dreams are valid. Your passion has value. Your unique perspective is needed in this world. It doesn't matter if you're 16 or 60. It doesn't matter if you're starting with $5 or $5,000. It doesn't matter if everyone around you thinks you're crazy. What matters is that you believe in yourself enough to take the first step, and then the second step, and then the third. Some of you watching this might be artists like me. Others might be inventors, writers, musicians, entrepreneurs, or dreamers in fields I've never even heard of. The specifics don't matter. What matters is the courage to pursue something that sets your soul on fire, even when the world tries to extinguish that fire. My family called me a failure, but my secret left them speechless. Your family, your friends, your critics might be calling you a failure right now too. But here's what I learned. Their silence when you prove them wrong will be the sweetest sound you'll ever hear. Not because you wanted to hurt them or show them up, but because in that moment of silence, you'll realize that you believed in yourself when no one else would. And that belief, that unshakable faith in your own potential, that's what will carry you through every challenge, every setback, every moment of doubt that lies ahead. 3 years ago, I was a college dropout living in my parents' house, being lectured about getting a real job. Today, I employ more people than most of the companies in my hometown. I've been featured on magazine covers around the world, and I've helped launch thousands of careers. But you know what the real victory is? It's not the money, the fame, or the recognition. It's the moment I look in the mirror and see someone who never gave up on herself. It's the knowledge that I trusted my instincts even when everyone else questioned them. It's the peace that comes from knowing I'm living my authentic life, not someone else's version of what my life should be. That's available to all of you too. That feeling, that victory, that peace, it's waiting for you on the other side of your fear, your doubt, and other people's opinions. So, to everyone who's ever been told they'll never amount to anything, prove them wrong. Not to hurt them, but to heal the part of yourself that believed them, even for a moment. Your secret success is waiting. Your family, your friends, your critics are waiting to be left speechless by what you're capable of. The question is, are you ready to show them? Thank you for watching my story. Thank you for believing that dreams matter. Thank you for reminding me that the girl who was once called a failure could grow up to inspire people all over the world to never give up on themselves. Remember, your current situation is not your final destination. Your family's opinion is not your fate. Your passion is not just a hobby, it's your purpose waiting to be unleashed. Now, go out there and leave them speechless. The end. Thank you so much for watching this incredible journey with me. If this story inspired you in any way, please hit that like button and subscribe for more amazing real-life transformation stories. Share this with someone who needs to hear that their dreams matter too. And remember, your story of success is still being written. Make it a good one. See you in the next video, where we'll explore another incredible journey of someone who refused to give up on their dreams. Until then, keep believing in yourself. You're more capable than you know. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you soon.